So we'd like to welcome everyone to our reading group. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So today we are on the fourth chapter of this small book on the way to Krishna. Let us just roughly see what we have seen so far. The first chapter is called Thorough Way to Happiness. Srila Prabhupada contrasts and compares material, temporary happiness with Sukham Aityantikam, eternal happiness or long-term happiness, which can only be found in Krishna. Krishna is eternal, we are eternal, we have an eternal relationship, and therefore the happiness that we can derive is also eternal. Second chapter, we saw how to actually know God, right? Because our minds, our hearts are covered with so much material impurities over millions and millions of births. The only way we can push past these impurities and come towards understanding Krishna is by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is like cleansing the mirror of the mind. Chapter 3, Prabhupada goes further to explain that we can perceive Krishna even in a conditioned state. So Krishna himself advises in the 7th chapter in many ways how we can perceive and understand him. So today we're going to see in the 4th chapter, right? Despite saying all this, right? Why aren't jivas or spirit souls becoming Krishna conscious left, right, and center? So let's see the 4th chapter, what Srila Prabhupada has to say. Srila Prabhupada says, he starts, the roads of the foolish and the wise. Krishna is thus explaining himself as he is. This is carrying forward from the 3rd chapter. Prabhupada speaks how he is the taste in water, he is the ability in a human, and this and that. Yet we are not attracted to him. Why is this? The reason is given by Krishna himself. The shloka comes. Daivi asha gunamayi mama maya duradyaya mamevaya prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. So there's two parts to this verse. First is the problem. Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duradyaya. My divine energy, Daivi, right? Divine, gunamayi, my energy. Krishna is saying, Mama Maya Duradyaya. This divine energy of mine, which consists of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. That is the problem statement. But Krishna also gives the solution. He says, Mam eva ye prapadyante. But if you surrender to me, the master of these energies, Mayam, that energy, etam, certainly you, tarantite, you can cross over the energies. Okay, so it's very interesting that because Krishna is the master, it's like, if you let's say you visit someone's home and they have a dog which is barking and the dog is probably growling at you or seems like he wants to bite you. And how do you solve this problem? What do? You look for the master, isn't it? So when the master comes out, the master says, sit, quiet, down, boy. Immediately the dog doesn't bark. And you feel safe and you understand that as long as the master is there, the dog is not going to bite me or I'm not in any danger. So like that, these material energies and everything, they are working against us. They are hurting us. We are finding, we are stuck in this illusion. But when Krishna comes, when we actually take shelter of Krishna, then we don't need to fear, we don't need to worry of these material energies. Right? So Prabhupada says, this divine energy of mine, Daivi Hesha Gunamayi, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. Mama Maya Duratyaya. But those who have surrendered unto me, Mam Eva Ye Prapatyante, Prapatyante here means surrender, can easily cross beyond it. Tarantite, crossover. Prabhupada continues, the material world is pervaded by three qualities of material nature. So I'm sure everyone knows this. I'm just going to show a photo here. So you see Krishna and his three mais, right? His three energies. So the one in a a yellow blouse, she's the mode of goodness. The one in the red blouse, she's in the mode of passion. Or the one in the blue blouse, that is representing the mode of ignorance. And these three energies, three modes, they are always controlling and affecting the jivas in all activities, good or bad. Right? We don't see, we are like what they say, a puppeteer to a puppet. In Hindi, they say kataputli, that toy with this wood, right? Playing like that. So we are like a puppet, and the puppeteer is, and we are thinking that I'm independent, I'm acting, but actually we're all constantly being influenced by these three modes in everything, in our walking, in our sleeping, in our everything, right? In bathing, in our eating, As we if you can look up Bhagavad Gita in the later chapters, Krishna explains many different activities in three modes, foods in three modes, action in three modes, faith in three modes, worship in three modes, like that. So we can check that out. Continuing, all living entities are influenced by these three qualities. If they are primarily influenced by the mode of goodness, they are called Brahmanas. And if they are influenced by the mode of passion, they are called Kshatriyas. If they are influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, they are called Vaishyas. And if they are predominantly influenced by the mode of ignorance, they are Shudras. This is not an artificial imposition due to birth or social status, but it is according to guna, or the mode of nature under which one is operating. So this is about qualities, not about birth. Um, Many people in India also, they have a misunderstanding of this, and people artificially impose this so-called differentiation or caste system. It's not only it's very rampant in India, but it may be there in the earlier ages in many places around the world. For example, in the sovereign countries, like countries which have kings, like in the European countries. So there's aristocrats, right? And different kind of people. So there also they have a kind of a hierarchy. But again, everywhere it's based on birth, but actually it is not. It's based on qualities. How to prove this? Prabhupada quotes this verse which Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 13th verse. Chatur varnam maya shrishtam. The four varnas. Chatur varnam, the four colors. Right? Varna means colors. Maya shrishtam. So that's why Prabhupada is saying those with goodness, full yellow, they are Brahmanas, That means they are influenced by that color, that mode. Color not literally, but kind of like figuratively. Guna karma vibhagasha. The vibhaga, the division is done by guna and karma. Guna here means quality. Karma here means action, activity, karya. Right? Guna karma vibhagasa. Tasya kartataram api mam vidya kataram avyayam. So the focus is on these first two lines. So Prabhupada continues, it is not that this system refers to the perverted caste system in India. Sri Krishna specifically states guna karma vibhagashaha. Men are classified according to the guna or the mode under which they are operating, and this applies to men all over the universe. When Krishna speaks, we must understand that whatever he says is not limited, but is universally true. He claims to be the father of all living entities, even the animals, aquatics, trees, plants, worms, birds, bees are all claimed to be his sons. So many shlokas come like this. I think 3 shlokas come. 14.4, Sarva Yevneshu Kaunteya Murteya Sambhavantiya. And 2 other verses where he quotes, what is this? Bijaham, that I am the seed of everything. Sri Krishna asserts that the entire universe is illusion by the interactions of the 3 qualities of material nature, and we are under the spell of that illusion. Therefore, we cannot understand what God is. So Prabhupada next, he asks a Purva Paksha, his own question, what is the nature of this illusion and how can it be overcome? That is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Right? So again, Prabhupada quotes the same verse because the first part of this text is talking about the first 2 lines, and now Prabhupada is focusing about the next 2 lines. So Prabhupada quotes the same verse that we started off here. Interesting. So Prabhupada says, Daivyesha gunamayi mama maya duradyaya mam evaya prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. He focuses on the last 2 lines, the solution. No one can get rid of the entanglement of the 3 qualities of material nature by speculation. The 3 gunas are very strong and hard to overcome. Can't we feel how we are in the grip of material nature? It's a very interesting thing Prabhupada asks. Because generally we don't. We can't feel that we are under the grip of material nature. We feel like we are free, I'm okay. But the reality is that we are actually so much controlled, just like these guys here with that strings attached to them. The word guna, mode, also means rope. When someone is bound by 3 strong ropes, he is certainly very tightly secured. Right? So this rope, how do you make a rope? If there's anyone here who's a Boy Scout or Girl Scout, you'll know. So they are like fibers, small strands, where you intertwine them together. To take 3 ropes and intertwine them together, you build larger yarns. And these yarns, again, when you intertwine them, they become larger strands. And these strands, if you intertwine them, they become a huge rope, like the ones they use in sea-going vessels and huge. So it like the similarly, the three modes of material nature intertwined again and again and again. And this makes one a very secure prisoner. Our hands and legs are all bound by the strong ropes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Are we therefore to abandon hope? No. For here, Sri Krishna promises that whosoever surrenders unto him is at once free. When one becomes Krishna conscious, whether in this way or that way, he becomes free. Somehow or other, if one becomes Krishna conscious, Prabhupada is saying, we are all related to Krishna, for we are all his sons. Very interesting. A son may have a disagreement with the father, but it is not possible for him to break that relation. Prabhupada is empathizing that we all, somehow or other left the shelter of Krishna and came to this material world, but that does not mean that our eternal relationship with God has been broken. In the course of his life, he will be asked, who is he? And he will have to reply, I am the son of so and so. Isn't it? You cannot live without the identity of the Father. That relation cannot be broken. We are all sons of God, and that relationship with him is eternal. But we have simply forgotten. Now, here, when we say we are all, because many other religions also say this, but when here they say that we are sons of God, we here not only means humans, we here means animals, beasts, birds, trees. Krishna is all powerful, all famous, all wealthy, all beautiful, all knowledgeable, and he is full of renunciation as well. So this is quoting from a verse that comes in Shastras. Aishwarasya samagrasya viryasya yashasha shriya. Basically, the Lord has six opulences in full. You can look at this picture here. God is one who has all beauty, like Krishna is all attractive. The very word Krishna means sarvam akarshiti iti Krishna. Krishna is all attractive. Krishna is all strength. He proved it. He lifted the Govardhan hill with his left pinky, isn't it? That's showing some skill. He's all knowledgeable. He gave Bhagavad Gita, which for centuries now has been the guiding force of man and allow people to achieve material emancipation. He is all famous. Whatever Krishna do is still so much glorified. Festivals are held for his butter stealing pastimes. Krishna is all riches. He has 16,108 palaces in Dwarka, right? And Krishna is all renounced. He is not here for the name and fame game. He is so humble that he's willing to serve his devotees. Like here you see he's carrying the slippers of Nanda Baba, Nanda Maharaj, his own father. He is not hung up with the position that he is the supreme almighty God. Like some people in some scriptures, they say that I am thy God, worship me, for thy God is a jealous God. So it's not that he's jealous, so he's commanding on his position. But Krishna here is very renounced, very humble and loving. That's what makes him also more attractive. So although we are friends of such a great personality, we have forgotten him. If a rich man's son forgets his father, leaves home, and becomes mad, he may lie on the street or go to sleep, or he may beg for food. But all of this is due to his forgetfulness. This is taken from actually the Bible, the pedagogical son, a son who leaves away from the father, suffers, and then later comes back to the father. Because that is very similar with our philosophy as well. If someone, however, gives him information that he's simply suffering because that he has left his father's home and that his father, a very wealthy man and owner of vast property, is anxious to have him return, that person is a great benefactor. So one who reminds another person, a mad boy, a mad child, that, hey, your father is actually a very rich person. He wants you back. He loves you. He has a vast property. Why are you suffering like this? Go back to him. That is like the greatest well-wisher a person could have. This is the duty of a guru. This is the duty of Vaishnavas, isn't it? In this material world, we are always suffering under the threefold miseries. The miseries arising from body and mind, from other living entities, and from natural catastrophes. So basically, these are the what is known as the three vida tapa, the three kinds of suffering. Adi, Atmika Klesh, misery, klesha arising from the mind and body, We have headaches, we have stomach aches, back pains. Our own body causes us distress. That's Adi Atmika Klesh. And Adi Bhautika Klesha is misery caused by other living entities. You don't do anything, you sit in a room, mosquito bites you. You walk around, there's a lizard scares you, you know. Or if you don't do anything, there's some terrorist that comes and tries to kill you. So this is called miseries or sufferings due to other living beings. And third, Adi Dhaivika Klesh are miseries or sufferings that are caused by natural calamities like, earthquakes and blizzards and tsunamis and whatnot. We don't have them. This is all controlled by the Devas, so Adi Daivata. Being covered by illusion by the modes of material nature, we do not take account of these miseries. This is the very amazing thing. Because we are covered by illusion, we are not able to see that we are suffering. Many people, when we give lectures and we speak, we tell them this world is a miserable place. People start thinking, really? I don't think so. I woke up today happy. I had my breakfast. I'm okay. Right? We fail to see how we are actually unable to relish constant happiness. However, we should always know that in the material world, we are undergoing so much suffering. One who has sufficiently developed consciousness, who is intelligent, inquires why he is suffering. I do not want miseries. Why am I suffering? So these are three nice things: develop consciousness, intelligence, and inquiry. If one has this thing, right? When this question arises, there is a chance to become Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada is giving some small formula, right? What is the right recipe of a person to become Krishna conscious? Some gray matter, like Prabhupada says, there's some thinking capacity, some brains, as you will say, intelligent to discern temporary and eternal, and inquires, actually starts thinking. Such people actually can become Krishna conscious. As soon as we surrender ourselves to Krishna, he welcomes us very cordially. It is just like a lost child who returns to his father and says, "My dear father, due to some misunderstanding, I left your protection, but I have suffered. Now I return to you." The father embraces his son and say, "My dear boy, come on. I was so anxious for you all these days. You were gone, and now I am so happy you have come back." The father is so kind. We are in the same position. We have to surrender to Krishna, and it's not very difficult. When the son surrenders to the father, is it a very difficult job? Because naturally there's love, naturally there's affection. So, to go back to those emotions, to have faith and trust that the person forgives you. But that's why in our whole bhakti process, we are trying to rekindle or revive that relationship. Krishna is the father, we are the child. Whatever mistakes I've done, God understands, Krishna understands. My job now to take shelter of him. It's not difficult because there is an eternal relationship. It is very natural, and the father is always waiting to receive the son. So therefore, when we chant Lord's names, it's very pleasing to Krishna. At the same time, it's very powerful because it reestablishes us in our eternal relationship with God. There is no question of insult or offense. If we bow down before our Supreme Father and touch his feet, there is no harm for us, nor is it difficult, right? We should not feel ashamed, we should not feel embarrassed. It's actually very natural. Indeed, it is glorious for us. Why should we not? By surrendering to Krishna, we come immediately under his protection and are relieved of all miseries. This is validated by all scriptures. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, "Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja." Give up all kinds of, duties that you have. The duties of this, the duties of that kind of understanding. Give up everything and just surrender unto me. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masucha. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami. I will deliver you from all your bank balance of sins and whatever debts, right? Masucha, do not be afraid, do not worry. Because whenever people say surrender, there's a worry, right? Is the person I'm going to surrender to, actually going to take care of me or not? When we throw ourselves at the feet of God, proper rights, so beautiful, we come under his protection. And from that time on, there is no fear for us. When children are under the protection of their parents, they are fearless because they know their parents will not let them be harmed. If you see children walking with parents, you see children always very mischievous. They're running here, running there, jumping here, jumping there, because they're not afraid. They know that anything goes wrong, parents are there. But when you see a child who is lost, who has no shelter of parents, they'll walk very slow, they'll be very cautious where they sit, who they talk to, they're worried, they're panicked, isn't it? Because they have no shelter. Mameva ye prapadyante. Krishna promised that those who surrender to him have no cause for fear. If surrender unto Krishna is such an easy thing, then why don't people do it? We also ask this question every day. Instead, there are many who are challenging the very existence of God, claiming that nature and science are everything and that God is nothing. So-called advancement of civilization in knowledge means that the populace is becoming more mad. Okay. And that's what the education system is, isn't it? They're not talking about God, but they're talking about how nature is giving everything. We call it Mother Nature. Prabhupada says, then who is the father? Right? And science is creating everything. Instead of being cured, the disease is being increased. Right? So people are becoming more atheistic, more non-believing, because they see science as the origin. Science is not the origin, science is the manipulator. A scientist is one who takes something and creates something else out of it, but they didn't create the original. People do not care for God, but they care for nature. And it's nature's business to give kicks in the form of threefold miseries. So interesting, you know. I mean, loving nature is not a wrong. There's no harm. It's not a sin, even if one is a devotee, because we see nature as the wife. Bhumi Devi, Earth, is a wife of Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam, wife of Lord Krishna, right? But those who only think nature to be independent or nature to be everything, the cause, and shy away from God, they don't realize that that very nature is actually kicking them. If you take a simple example of those who become, who start to do animal conservation, conservationists, and such people, sometimes they themselves are mauled by the very animals they protect. Right? They're so much engrossed thinking that this is all in all, but factually there is God behind all this. So, the nature's business to give kicks. She's always administrating these kicks 24 hours a day. My God. However, we have been so accustomed to being kicked that we think it is all right and consider it to be ordinary course of things. So I think as we proceed, we can now understand why Prabhupada named this chapter The Roads of the Foolish and the Wise. Prabhupada is outlaying two paths, right? The clarity path of taking shelter, and why we're not taking shelter, we're walking on the difficult path and being kicked also. We have become very proud of our education, but we tell material nature, thank you very much for kicking me. Now please continue. Thus deluded, we think that we have been conquered. We think that even conquered material nature, right? I'm the controller of nature. But how is this so? Nature is still inflicting on us the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. Has anyone solved these problems? Then what advancement have we really made in knowledge and civilization? So if you think about the whole history of mankind, even from a modern perspective, empires have arose, great kings have been created, the vast civilizations have been conquered, so many different kinds of advancements from deserts, right? Big, powerful conglomerate empires and cities and businesses have emerged, which became financial capitals for many countries. Yet, despite all this so-called advancement, still birth, death, old age, and disease is there, right? So if you take any of the biggest famous brands in this world, okay, if we just take fashion, for example, because of now this famous celebrities are, getting married and so many celebrities are talking about fashion and all. If you take any brand, for example, if you take Louis Vuitton, or if you take Pierre Cardin, or if you take Christian Dior, right? These people are gone and they could never have imagined the kind of wealth or the kind of power or the kind of reach that the companies or their name has come down. Now they're just a branding. Where have these people gone? They're gone, right? So so-called advancement, but it's the same thing. Because of birth, death, old age, and disease, sufferings are coming. Prabhupada continues to say, we are under the stringent rules of material nature, but still we are thinking we have conquered. This is called Maya. So very interesting, the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the beginning chapters, there's a section called Bhumi Geet, where Bhumi Devi prays, and she's listing all the names of all the kings, good kings and bad kings also. She says, all these kings, look at them. They tried to conquer me. They tried to rule me. They had some kingdom for some time, but where are they now? She laughs. They're gone, dead and gone. Civilization is gone. They are dead and gone. I'm still here. Everyone tries to conquer earth, takes up some piece of land, becomes king. They're dead and gone. Earth is still there. So like this, Bhumi Devi is laughing at the foolish people. A very beautiful section, the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There may be some difficulty in surrendering to the father of this body. Okay, let me a real physical or material father. For he has limited knowledge and power. But Krishna is not like an ordinary father. Krishna is unlimited and has full knowledge, full power, full wealth, full beauty, full fame, and full renunciation. Shouldn't we consider ourselves lucky to go to such a father and enjoy his property? Yet no one seems to care about this. And now everyone is making propaganda that there is no God. Why do people not seek him out? So this is so common, atheism will always be there. Recently, I met some students also, and they're following some modern day YouTuber, Indian person, but based in a foreign country. And he speaks, negatively about spirituality, and he speaks negatively about God. And practically everyone who is, you know, watching his videos have become atheists, right? Thinking that it's so distinct. Why do people not seek him out? The answer is given in chapter 7, verse 15 of Bhagavad Gita. So here Prabhupada lists the 4 kinds of duskritina or miscreants, 4 kinds of people who do not surrender to God. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradama maya prahrita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. So who are the 4 kinds of people? Mudha, the foolish people. Duskriti, the 4 kinds of people who do bad activities, miscreants. One is the fool, mudha. Next is the naradama, the lowest of mankind. Third is the maya pahrita jnana, person who has lost his intelligence. And the 4th is an asura, the demoniac person. So Prabhupada writes, in this way, the fools are categorized. A duskriti is always acting against scriptural injunctions. Kriti means action. Duskriti means wrong action. Sukriti means right or correct action. The business of current civilization is to break scriptural rules. That's all. By definition, a pious man is one who doesn't. But there must be some standard to distinguish between the duskriti, evildoer, and a sukriti, a virtuous man. Every civilized country has some scripture. It may be Christian, Hindu, Muslim, or Buddhist. That doesn't matter. The point is that the book of authority of scripture is there. Something to say a person what to do, what not to do. One who does not follow these injunctions is considered an outlaw. Another category mentioned in this verse is a mudha, fool number 1. That's the first type of person. The naradhama is one who's low in the human scale, a lowly human. And maya pahrita jnana refers to one whose knowledge has been carried away by maya or illusion. Asura bhavam ashritaha refers to those who are out and out atheists. So this is a very simple way Prabhupada is actually defining all 4. But I would request all of you in your own time, please look at the verse 7.15 and look at the purport, Bhagavad Gita 7.15, where Prabhupada actually goes into detail. Like you can see here, he writes number 1, the mudas. And then he speaks about them, right? Who are attached to the body, basically. Number 2, he says the naradhamas, those who are very fallen and very, wretched. And he says, number 3, the Maya Pahrita Jnanas. He said philosophers and scientists, so-called people. And number 4, the Asuras, right? The demoniac people. So like that, Prabhupada kind of explains about these 4 kind of people. So you have to check out the purport. Although there are no disadvantages to surrendering to the Father, people who are thus categorized like these 4 people never do it. As a result, they are constantly punished by the agents of the Father. They have to be slapped, caned, kicked severely, and they have to suffer, right? When someone doesn't listen, what do? Sometimes people have to, go by force. Just as a father has to chastise his unruly boy, so material nature has to employ certain punishments. At the same time, nature is nourishing us by supplying food and other necessities. Both processes are going on because we are sons of the wealthiest father of all, and Krishna is kind even though we do not surrender to him, right? It is just like in a state, there are some people who go against the government. They're outlaws. What does the government do? They say, I do not believe in this government. I hate this government. I want to go against this government. That government captures them, put them in jail, which is run by the government. And in the jail, they eat the food, they bathe, they use the clothes. Who is it given by? The government. While eating the food, they are saying, I hate this government. I do not believe this government. But ultimately, that government who you hate, who you don't believe in, is feeding you, right? So atheists and miscreants, they may shout and decry God, but God is so kind, he's still feeding them. Yet despite of being furnished so well by the Father, the Duskriti still performs unsanctioned actions. One is foolish if he persists in being punished. Someone says, no, it's okay, let me be punished. And one is low on the human scale if he does not use this human form of life to understand Krishna. The Muda is one who says, I don't mind a little suffering, right? Yeah, it's okay. Diseases come, death comes, fine, I'm okay with it. He's a Muda. And a Naradama is one who's so foolish that he does not utilize this human form of life, but goes into the worst of worst activities, like an animal. If a man does not use his life to reawaken the relationship he has with his real father, he is to be considered fallen in the human scale. Animals simply eat, sleep, defend, and have sexual intercourse and die. So we saw this that day. Ahara, Nidra, Bhayam, Maitunucha, 4 activities. They do not avail themselves to higher consciousness because that is not possible in lower forms of life. If a human being follows the activities of the animals and does not avail himself of his ability to elevate his consciousness, he falls down to the human scale and prepares for an animal body in his next life. So the laws of nature, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajanti ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatat bhava bhavita. Whatever state one remembers while quitting this body, that state only one will attain without fail. So if one acts like an animal in this life, material nature sees that, oh, I've given you a human body. You want to eat like an animal, sleep like an animal, move around like an animal? Fine. Next life, be an animal. You can do it freely. By the grace of Krishna, we are given a highly developed body and intelligence. But if we do not utilize them, why should he give them to us again? We must understand that this human body has developed after millions and millions of years of evolution. Evolution here is not the Darwin's physical evolution of a body. Evolution here is the evolution of the soul. The soul is moving from one life form to another life form. That is the evolution, let's speak. Evolution, the journey of the soul. Not that this body can change or morph. And that in itself is a chance to get out of the cycle of birth and death in which over 8 million species of life evolve. This chance is given by the grace of Krishna, and if we do not take it, are we not the lowest among men? One may be a degree holder, MA, PhD, etc., from some university, but the illusionary energy takes away this mundane knowledge. Here Prabhupada speaking about Maya Pahrita Jnana people. One who is really intelligent will apply his intelligence to understand who he is, who God is, what material nature is, why he is suffering in material nature, and what is the remedy to this suffering. Okay, we may apply our intelligence to manufacture an automobile, radio, or television for sense gratification. But we have to understand that this is not knowledge. Rather, this is plundered intelligence. What a word, you know. Intelligence was given to a man to understand the problem of life, but it is being misused. People are thinking they have acquired knowledge because they know how to manufacture and drive cars. But before the car was here, people were still going from one place to another. It is just the facility has been increased. But along with this facility have come additional problems, air pollution and overcrowded highways. Prabhupada is mentioning this in late 1960s. Right? We can only imagine the situation now. This is Maya. We are creating facilities, but these facilities in their turn are creating so many problems. So if we break down, actually life is very clear. We just have to do bhakti, finish this game and get out. All the extra things that we're trying to do, trying to create, trying to artificially decorate ourselves with are somehow or other going to implicate us further. So the preachers of Krishna conscious movement, they have a duty that we have to use all these things. Like now we are using a Zoom call, we are using YouTube, we're using a laptop because people are stuck in this. So we have to go into this and try to, pull them out. and not get stuck ourselves. Instead of wasting our energy to supply ourselves with so many facilities and modern amenities, we should apply intelligence to understand who and what we are. We do not like to suffer, but we should understand why suffering is being forced on us. By so-called knowledge, we have simply succeeded in manufacturing the atomic bomb. Thus, the killing process has been accelerated. The Prabhupada here, saying what's so great about the atomic energy? You're just accelerating death. We are so proud to think that this is an advancement of knowledge. But if we can manufacture something that can stop death, we have really advanced in knowledge. So like one time Prabhupada says, to die is not very great. Everyone is going to die ultimately. But to live, oh, that is very great. Death is already there in material nature, but we are so eager to promote it by killing everyone at one drop. This is called Maya Pakrita Jnana, knowledge carried away by illusion, just accelerating death. Brilliant, huh? The Asuras, the demons, and proclaimed atheists actually challenge God. Okay, the fourth person. If it were not for our Supreme Father, we would not see the light of day. So what is the point of challenging him? In the Vedas, it is stated that there are two classes of men, the Devas and the Asuras, the demigods and demons. Who are the Devas? The devotees of the Supreme Lord are called Devas because they also become like God, whereas those who defy the authority of the Supreme are called Asuras or demons. These two classes are always found in human society, right? Deva, Asura, two kinds of people. Just as there are four types of miscreants who never surrender to Krishna, there are four types of fortunate men who worship him. And they are categorized in the next verse. So now this is the verse of four kinds of people who actually are Sukritina, who actually worship the Lord. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukirtino arjuna arto jigyasu arta arti jnani cha bharata arshava. Okay, what are the four kinds of people? The four kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me. The first, the distress, artha, the desire of wealth, artha arti, the inquisitive, jigyasu, and one who is actually searching for knowledge of God, jnani. This material world is full of distress, and both the pious and the impious are subject to it. The cold of winter treats everyone alike. Right? It does not care for the pious or the impious, the rich or the poor. So material world is suffering to all kinds of people. The difference between the pious and the impious, however, that the pious man thinks of God when he is suffering. He is in a miserable condition, right? So whether devotee or non-devotee, all of us are going to suffer. All of us are going to die. But the difference is that the devotee constantly thinks of God. Often when a man is distressed, he will go to church and pray, "Oh my Lord, I am in difficulty. Please help me." Although he is praying for some material necessity, such a man is still to be considered pious because he has come to God in distress. So that is the first kind of person, artha, someone after some suffering, hankering, or difficulty. Similarly, a poor man may go to church and pray, "My dear Lord, please give me some money." Right? He is an artha arti. On the other hand, the inquisitive are usually intelligent. They're always researching to understand things. They may ask, "What is God?" and then conduct some scientific research to figure out. So that is jigyasu. They are also considered pious because their research is directed to the proper object. They are trying to understand God. The man in knowledge is called jnani. This is the best. Like the following verse after this verse, after 7.16, 7.17, Krishna will say that the jnani is the best. Okay, one who has understood his constitutional position. Such a jnani may have an impersonal conception of God, but because he is taking shelter of the ultimate, the supreme absolute truth, he is also to be considered pious. These four types of men are called Sukriti, pious, because they are all after God. So here, the next verse. Tesham jnani nityayukta eka bhakta vishishyate priyo hi jnani no tyartam aham sacha mama priya. One who is in full knowledge, who is always engaged, is the best. The jnani is the best. Out of these four classes of men who approach God, he who is philosophically trying to understand the nature of God, who is trying to become Krishna consciousness, like all of you assembled here on this online group, philosophically trying to understand Krishna, Vishishyate is best qualified. Indeed, Krishna says that such a person is very dear to him because he has no other business than understanding God. The others are inferior. No one has to go to God and no one has to pray to God to ask for anything. And he who does so is foolish because he does not know that the all-knowing God is within his heart and is well aware when he is in distress or need of money. So here Prabhupada says that, there's actually no need to go to God and ask, I need this, I want that. In one sense, God already knows. In another sense, a little dishonoring for him. Imagine if a child goes to the mother and the child asks the mother, Mom, I had a fantastic lunch. Thank you so much. Will you be feeding me dinner as well today? So the mother will be like, have I failed before in my duties to feed you? Why do you doubt me? Right? One never doubts. One knows that mother will always cook for me. She'll always be there for me. So like this, God is within our hearts. He knows. The wise man realizes this and does not pray for relief from material miseries. Rather, he prays to glorify God and inform others how great he is. He does not pray for his personal interests, for bread, for dress, shelter. Here, Prabhupada says, roti, kapda, makan. In Hindi, they say. Prabhupada give the English version of this, bread, dress, and shelter. Roti, kapda, makan. The pure devotee, when he is distressed, says, Dear Lord, this is your kindness. You have put me into distress just to rectify me. I should be put into much greater distress, but out of your mercy, you have minimized this. So it's a very beautiful prayer we can remember. Difficulty, we know that Krishna knows best. Somehow or other, he has put me in this condition to teach me a lesson, to make me stronger, to make me more faithful, to make me more realized of my mistakes. I deserve much worse, but he's so kind, he's just given me a token punishment, as Prabhupada says. This is the vision of a pure devotee who is not disturbed. He who is in Krishna conscious does not care for material distress, insult, or honor because he is aloof from all this. He knows well that distress, honor, and insult pertain to the body only, and that he is not the body. Socrates, for instance, who believed in the immortality of the soul, was condemned to death. And upon being asked how he would like to be buried, he replied, First of all, you may have to catch me, because you only caught hold of the body, but I'm not this body. So one who knows he is not the body is not disturbed, for he knows that the soul cannot be caught, tortured, killed, or buried. Right? This comes in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He who is conversant with the science of Krishna knows perfectly well that he is not the body, that he is part and parcel of Krishna, that his relationship, his real relationship, is with Krishna. And that somehow or other, although he has been put in this material body, he must remain aloof from the three qualities of material nature. He is not concerned with the modes of goodness, passion, ignorance, but with Krishna. So in actually a devotee, he is not looking to become a moralist, or devotee is not looking to become a goody person. The devotee is just looking to become a devotee. Whatever pleases Krishna, that we will do. One who understands this is a jnani, a wise man, and he is very much dear to Krishna. A distressed man, when he is put into opulence, he may forget God, but a jnani who knows the real position will never forget him. There is a class of jnanis called impersonalists who say that because worshipping the impersonal is too difficult, a form of God has to be imagined. These are not real jnanis, they are fools, Prabhupada says. These are Mayavadis. No one can imagine the form of God, for God is so great. One may imagine some form, that's a concoction. It is not the real form. So the forms that we worship are all mentioned in the revealed scriptures, in the Shastras. They mention, Krishna himself mentioned how he looks and what he likes. There are those who imagine the form of God, and there are those who deny the form of God. Neither is a jnani. Those who imagine the form are called iconoclasts. During the Hindu-Muslim riots in India, some Hindus would go to the Muslim mosque and break statues and images of God, and the Muslims would reciprocate in a like manner. In this way, both were thinking, we have killed the Hindu God, we have killed the Muslim God, etc. Similarly, when Gandhi was leading his resistance movement, many Indians would go to the street and destroy the mailboxes, and in this way, thinking they are destroying the governmental postal service. What's the point of just destroying a mailbox? People of such mentalities are not jnanis. The religious wars between the Hindu and Muslims and Christians and non-Christians, the Crusades, are all conducted on the basis of ignorance. One who is in knowledge knows that God is one. He cannot be Muslim, Hindu, or Christian. It is our imagination that God is such and such and such and such. This is all imagination. The real wise man knows that God is transcendental. One who knows that God is transcendental to the material modes truly knows God. God is always beside us, present in our hearts. When we leave the body, God also goes with us. And when we take on another body, he goes with us there just to see what we are doing. That's the Paramatma, the Lord within the heart. When shall we turn our face towards him? He is always waiting. As soon as we turn our face towards God, he says, my dear son, come on. Sacha mama priya. You are eternally dear to me. Now you are turning your face to me, and I'm very glad. The wise man, the jnani, actually understands the signs of God. One who only understands that God is good is in a preliminary stage, but one who actually understands how great and good God is further progressed. That knowledge is to be had in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. One who actually is interested in God should study the science of God, the Bhagavad Gita. Idam tu te guyatamam pravakshyami anusuyave jnanam vijnana samitam yagyatva moksha shesuvat. My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, anasuyave, I shall impart on to you this most confidential knowledge and realization. Jnanam vijnana sahitam, knowing which you shall be relieved from the miseries of material existence. Yad gyatva moksha shubha. The knowledge of God important in Bhagavad Gita is very subtle and confidential. It is full of jnana, metaphysical wisdom, and vijnana, scientific knowledge. And it is full of mystery also. How can one understand this knowledge? It must be imparted by God himself or a bona fide representative of God. Therefore, Sri Krishna says that whenever there is a discrepancy on understanding the science of God, he incarnates himself, like we saw in the earlier chapters. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir. Nor does knowledge come from sentiment. Nor does knowledge come from sentiment. Devotion is not sentiment, it is a science. Srila Rupa Goswami says, a show of spirituality without reference to the Vedic knowledge is simple, a disturbance to society. Right? Pancharatrim vidim vina, aikantiki hari bhakti. Shruti smriti puranadi, pancharatriki vidim vina, aikantaka hari bhakti, utpateva kalpate. So one who does not have reference to Shastra, whatever so-called spirituality they are teaching, concocted, becomes a disturbance in society. One must taste the nectar of devotion by reason, argument, knowledge. So such a beautiful line. One must taste the nectar of devotion by reason, argument, knowledge, and then he must pass it on to others. I think this will be the line for today's discussion. So brilliant, isn't it? One should not think that Krishna consciousness is mere sentimentality. The dancing and singing are all scientific. There is a science, and there is also loving reciprocation. Krishna is very dear to the wise men, and the wise man is very dear to Krishna, the Jnani. Krishna will return our love 1,000-fold. What capacity do we finite Krishna creatures have to love Krishna? Like there's a saying in Bengali, if Krishna wants to give you with his 10 hands, how much can you take with your 2 hands? When Krishna wants to take with his 10 hands, how much can you hold back with your 2 hands? But Krishna has immense capacity, unlimited capacity for love, right? So like this, we see Srila Prabhupada outlining the path of the intelligent, the path of the wise, and the path of the foolish, the Duskritis and the Sukritis. Of the Sukritis, 4 kinds of people who are suffering, who are after wealth, who are just inquisitive. We should actually become knowledgeable, wise, to inquire about the absolute truth. So thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.